The Federal Reserve said that there would be 3 interest rate cuts this year. People were so confident that that would be the case that, for example, the consensus at one point would be that the first rate cut would be in March of this year. Now look, I'm not here to pat myself on the back, but if you watch any of my previous videos that I've made on this topic, I've said time and time again that inflation was looking more and more sticky. And I said that I did, and I still do believe that there will be some form of rate cuts this year. 6 months ago, when everyone was super confident that they were going to happen sooner rather than later, I said that the earliest would be middle of this year, if not later. Well, that scenario is starting to show itself. Everyone else's optimistic scenario is starting to look impossible. And my scenario, which at the time was definitely on the pessimistic side, is now starting to look like the optimistic choice, which means there is a very real, non-zero chance that there will be no rate cuts this year. Now, I do want to state for the record that I still believe that we will have rate cuts this year, but unless you have a magic 8-ball, any intelligent person will only sign a percentage chance to a prediction, not an absolute certainty. And for me, that means that the chances of no rate cuts at all have gone up dramatically from basically 0% where they were at the beginning of this year. And the chances of 3 rate cuts have gone down dramatically from basically 100% where they were at the beginning of this year. Why? Why is this happening? Well, because inflation is proving to be much more sticky than expected. And the labor market is remaining extremely resilient, which the labor market being strong sounds like a good thing for you and me. But for the Fed, this is a sign that higher interest rates are not yet working to slow down economic activity, which the Fed wants, because as powerful as the Fed is, it really only has a couple of tools in its playbook to control inflation. And one is to slow the economy, so people have less jobs, which means they have less money, which means there is less spending, which means prices should, in theory, come down. And secondly, they have quantitative easing and quantitative tightening, which I have made videos on in the past. But in summary, quantitative easing is their policy on steroids to try to prop up the economy in an already low interest rate environment. Now that wouldn't be applicable here because we have a currently strong economy. I know for you and me, when we go to the grocery store and we put gas in our car, it doesn't feel that way, but to the Fed, it looks like a strong economy. So instead, quantitative tightening would apply here. The point is, without getting too far off topic, the labor market and inflation data are red hot, almost a third of the way into this year. At this point, most people predicted that at least one interest rate cut would have already taken place. Well, it hasn't. And the CME Watch tool shows the chances of a rate cut at the next meeting, which is on May 1st, at basically 0%. And the next Fed meeting after that, June 12th. The odds of a rate cut by then used to be above 50%. Now, they're below 20. Okay, let's talk numbers, and let's start with jobs reports. They are coming in extremely strong. I mean, for example, in March, the economy added 300,000 plus jobs. This is the highest number since December, which basically means that the rate that the jobs reports are showing is in the opposite direction of what the Federal Reserve wants. And unemployment. Unemployment is sitting at 3.8%. That's historically low. Again, in a time where you think it'd be going up because of the high interest rate environment. Okay, and what about inflation? Well, inflation is sitting at 3.5% at the end of March, which is almost double of the Federal Reserve's target rate of 2%. And while that might not sound like a lot, remember, this is a basket of goods, which means there are things that are inflating at a much higher rate. And remember, even if everything across the board was inflating at just 3.5%, that means you would basically be getting almost 2 years worth of inflation every single year when compared to the Fed's target rate. Basically, what I'm saying in this video is that the markets have been way too optimistic about rate cuts, and it's looking more and more like inflation is very sticky. And the chances of 1, 2, or 3 rate cuts this year have gone down. Now, I'm not saying that there will not be rate cuts this year, but I am saying that the chances of that have only gone up exponentially from 0%, which is where they were just a few months ago at the beginning of this year.